David Wojahn's first book was published about 30 years ago, Ice House Lights from Yale University Press. It was a Yale Younger Poets Prize. And several more books since then. He teaches a professor at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond. He's a poet of always a fierce kind of honesty and emotional intensity. He also, W.B. Yeats, the great Irish poet, at one point said in a poem, Pounding the Table, he said, "Irish poets, learn your trade." David Wojahn has learned his trade. David, this is your most recent book, right? World Tree, University of Pittsburgh Press. And there's some other books of David's out there, too.
Well, thank you so much for coming here. Can you hear me all right? No, thanks for that great introduction, Tom. You guys probably sort of think of Tom Lux as your funny professor, but we in the poetry world think of him as a national treasure, and you're very lucky to have him here. And so I'm going to read this poem. It's called For the Honorable Wayne LaPierre, President, National Rifle Association. There's an incident that happened to one of our students at VCU not long ago that's reported here too. For the Honorable Wayne LaPierre, President, National Rifle Association. Someone filed off the serial number of the Glock. Someone bought it and sold it, and someone else sold it again. And thus Howard Reed Scott III, 17, shot Tyler Binstead, 19, by the tennis courts in Bird Park. 1 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday, a robbery gone afoul. You were asleep in Beltway, Maryland then. A gated community, security alarm enabled your own handgun loaded in the bedside table. Deeply you slept, having all day submitted to reporters' questions after the High Court overturned the D.C. handgun ban. The Second Amendment once again preserved, a victory not just for the NRA, but for all freedom-loving Americans. Deeply you slept as Tyler Binstead bled out against the tennis court fence, as Howard Reed Scott hurled the Glock to the freeway roadside from the window of his girlfriend's car. You read until you drifted off, your wife beside you slumbering. I do not know what book you opened, but assume it was not Dante, who places the violent in hell's seventh circle, second ring. Dante also was a politician, though an unsuccessful one, dying poor and in exile. I will not bore you with the partisan quarrels of Dante's Florence, of Gulf against Gilbelline, of house arrest and banishment. But I can tell you, Circle 7 is a river of blood, where Dante situates Alexander, Attila, and various tyrants, those whose violence to others brings down cities and nations. The river, furthermore, is boiling, darkly crimson in the Stygian reaches lit from afar by planes of fire. The damned cannot rise above the singeing waters, pushed down into the bloody depths by the centaurs who guard them. They cannot speak to bewail their condition. I do not know you, sir. Tyler Binstead and Howard Reed Scott are surely unknown names to you, and if they were known, would be quickly forgotten. I cannot read Italian, and my art is limited and clumsy, but Dante, I am convinced, would place you in the depths of Leviathan, his boiling crimson river. He would make your pain unbearable. Forever the seething blood would scorch and fill your lungs. Dante Alighieri was a man of peace, though famously self-righteous, aggressive, flawed. Yet many and eloquent were his statements on freedom. He believed some sins could be forgiven. Regarding others, he was pitiless. There's a liberal in the audience, thank you. This poem is called Ode to Black Six. Black Six was the most successful subspecies of laboratory rat, bred back in the 1920s, and in that almost century, Black Six has been given every human disease again and again and again. And I thought Black Six needed somebody to do him justice. So this is called Ode to Black Six. To your veins we've clogged with butter, we give thanks. To your brain tumor withering the use of your left side, to Alzheimer's befuddling your stumble through the labyrinth, indifferent now to females and estrus, to positive reinforcement, merci. For cystic fibrosis, ALS, mad cow. For rickets, diabetes, dengue fever, our gratitude. The 35-gauge needles in the loose fur bristling your neck have worked their contagion ceaselessly since 1921. 100 generations, O my brethren, and all your lives you train, prepare, endure. The gerrymandered cataracts cannot stall your progress through the windings of the maze. Milton flying blind toward Calvin's God. Push the lever, eat and retrace your sightless scurry. Week upon week on the marathon dance floor, we command you to foxtrot, and the winning couple staggers toward their crumb of cheddar. Death is a master from Livermore Lab, the NIH, your golden fur, Josephina, your ashen fur, Stuart Little, pipsqueak Terminator from the sequel versions, engineered to save our wayward species any cost. You pass through the refining fires, fur singed, manic prehensile, tail dragging broken. Push the lever, nothing given yet you push and push. Your photo glowers at me from National Geographic. Upright you stand in the maze's corner, front paws curled, pugilistic, one of Velasquez's palace dwarfs, leashed and collared in lace, but staring us down. No pasaran, don't tread on me. Snatch me, bastard, by the neck and tail, and fuck with me all you want. I serve you at my whim. I'm going to read you a poem with maybe the worst title I have ever come up with. It's called Self-Portrait as Sock Puppet. My son offers eyes, scavenging the plastic box and gluing me lidless near the hole beneath my cranium. Now the images pour forth. Table strewn, alchemical, a button for the nostrils, and he bends to offer breath from dust, a mouth of pipe cleaner coiled to enable speech. Sequin and bead unsilenced me, affixed against each temple. Thus he bids me speak, and I obey, for he touches my fledgling tongue with a glowing coal. Yarn for my hair, yarn for my chin, and he teaches sound by sound the shimmering, unhandselled quaver that becomes my name. I speak it brokenly, not yet certain what I am. Fingers curl. Into my new skin, he guides my hand. It's another short poem, and this one has the advantage of having the worst line I've ever written. You'll know it when you see it, but I like the poem anyway. You know what the SClera is?
The white of the eyes.
Yeah, it's the white of the eyes. And one of the things that's been a subject of debate for a long time among archaeologists and paleontologists is, in human evolution, what came first, language or the whites of the eyes? because the whites of the eyes allow for a particular sort of intimacy of communication between two people. And so it's thought that one of the evolutionary adaptations that sort of jump-started language would have been the sclera. So that's in the poem. Sclera. There's an epigraph. It is likely Homo ergaster is the first human ancestor who had visible sclera, whites of the eyes identical to those of modern humans. You share the kill, fingers circling a thigh bone shattered open. One hand sucks the copious marrow, the other hovers, then strokes the still nascent chin of your mate. Strokes and strokes. An Aldivi moral. Your guttural whisper, tinctures of noun and verb, franix a work in progress. But the eyes are besnowed and watchful. They dart and waver, then fix into consummating gaze, sclera, aglow, and glossy as multi-purpose 24 weight, wherein slow iris and russet pupil stalk their text, more ancient than runic or linear B. Oh, my beloved, by the windows of the soul we fuck. We throw the curtains open, bodies viscid with the polleny morn, and how these eyes are locked. Yeah, it's the by the windows of the soul one. You guys are probably too young to remember this, but back in the day, in the era of one of our many dead formats, we had these things, you might have seen them, called cassette tapes. And if you were going to say, do what you all do with your playlists on iTunes, which you can do in a couple keystrokes, if you wanted to do that on those little pieces of black acetate and make a playlist or a mixtape for somebody, you had to do it in real time. Really remarkable thing. So you'd know it if you saw it. So this poem is set in the 80s. There's a reference to a president we had then named Ronald Reagan, who was best forgotten. And, there's also a lot of references to the music of the 80s, which was maybe not the greatest decade in American popular history for music, but there we go. Mixtape to be brought to her in rehab. Black lacquered circle and the sound coaxed from diamond to rest within the acetate glimmer. The agon and the joys commingling. Nina Simone is conjuring the boat of Ra, little darling from a long, cold, lonely winter, though outside it is August and is not all right. Double doors, then again double doors. You will sign yourself in. They'll rifle through your bags of oranges and candy bars, pry open the plastic case and hold the gray Maxell against the light. Immense are the tears of Levi Stubbs. How sweet the honey bee. The Smiths are in a terrible place. Oh, oscillate wildly. Please, please, please let me get what I want, to be followed in turn by Mr. James Brown, his own pleas, trembling the Apollo rafters. Visiting hours. In the TV room, the Haldol reigns. Reagan struts among the SS gravestones, Pompadour shiny as a new LP. His movie actor gait turned, thank God, to pastel vapor by Miami Vice. Flamingo starburst from the credits. Shyly, she will walk the corridor to meet you, your offerings of Earl Grey, the two black turtlenecks, nails cobalt, fingers a tremble, gun-shy, screaming blue messiahs, Dylan at his nadir, adnoiding Brownsville girl. Even the swap meets around here are getting a little corrupt. Richard Thompson, when the spell is broken, Jimmy Cliff's in limbo, waiting for the dice to roll. When her roommate leaves, you'll sit with her upon the bed. Awkward, you will small talk, staring at your hands. More doors, double doors, and triple the years, down the carved names, the future with its labyrinths and tailspins, room giving way to room, the upturned car, the notebooks cuneiformed with numbers, pivot and gyre, cache of RX pads stuffed into a roll-top drawer, 90 rabid, troubled minutes, Coda Robert Johnson, stones in my pathway and my road seem dark as night. Her eyes in memory an astonished blue. You reach inside your jacket and she holds it in her upturned palm. From the bedside table, she lifts the Walkman, the button with its triangle, the click, the whir, the eddying forward. Let me just read one more poem. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We've lately decided to become gardeners, which is a level of domesticity I'd never think I'd reach. But there you have it. As soon as you start doing that, especially if you do things like plant tomatoes, everybody's got advice for you, and it's all weird occult lore, right? Like, what's going to keep the squirrels and raccoons away? Is it going to be eggshells? Is it going to be human hair? Is it going to be mothballs? Is it going to be marigolds? Or the one that everybody says works, and I think it's probably the best, is Irish Spring soap. That's all in here. My boys are in here. At several points in this poem, I try to do a not very credible imitation of David Byrne, talismanic. The boy's hair voodoos the tomato stalks. We have swept it from the kitchen floor after haircuts, and straw colored its spirals from the garden soil, already half buried like tablets etched with linear B, untranslatable among eggshells and soap flakes. I kneel and watch it rain upon the diligent grubs, beetles, and the zigzag caravans of ants. The stalks nod with unripe big boys, calypsos, green marbles of cherries and clusters. Human hair, marigolds, Irish Spring I flake with a cheese grater in a talismanic circle, charms against squirrel and raccoon. High summer evening, high 90s, and the boys run tonsured through the sprinkler spray, the sound as it revolves a quirky but robotic staccato, like the voice of David Byrne cackling once in a lifetime. You may ask yourself, how do I work this? They will lay waste to the fruits of your labors. Useless are all your spells. For now the wind is rising. A thick, cheap scent over everything. Scent the color of key lime pie. Scent the color of my father, 20 years dead and stepping from the shower stall, taking in the steam and deep self-conscious breaths. His own futile talisman against emphysema, angina, Jim Beam. Soap lather beards his face. You may ask yourself, how did I get here? He is ash in a canister in the Veterans Cemetery in St. Paul, and his DNA helixes up the pale outline of Luke's spine, glinting now in the sprinkler's jittery rainbows. Let the water hold me down. Back and forth they pace the sprinkler's cage. They squeal and turn to me in their delight, same as it ever was, same as it ever was, and the breeze pulls the spray toward me until I am mist as well. Lord, abide this instant back to them when I am ash, though I kneel absurdly with the cheese grater, knead pads and a flint head of soap, same as it ever was, same as it ever was. Sundown, mosquitoes tuning up, a gilt of fireflies slathering the Adirondack chairs. My knees scrape eggshell, beflowered with dead-headed marigolds, and the tufts of hair billow up from the dirt to my face. Thank you, everybody.
Didn't he do something like this, David? Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. And afterwards, I'll tell you how we take care of squirrels in the garden here in Georgia. Travis, Denton, Ginger Murchison, Kodak, all this never would happen without them. We're grateful for the support of our department, our dean, Jackie Royster. We have one more reading this year, and it's going to be a terrific one too. David Bottoms, who's the poet laureate of Georgia, and Kwame Dawes, coming from South Carolina. That's April 4th, right, T? 5th. April 5th. Thank you very much.